Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our Sciton webinar. We're taking the opportunity to launch a brand new whole innovation from Sciton. The title of our webinar is The Game Changer, Reinventing Skin Rejuvenation with the new Sciton BBL HEROic for better and faster results as well. Okay, just a little heads up before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, kindly type them into your question box in the Zoom control panel, and the questions will be addressed and answered at the end of the webinar. We are very honored to have us live again for a second time. Dr. Sherrif Ibrahim, a US double board certified dermatologist and Mohs surgeon. Dr. Sherrif is also a national trainer in the use of minimally invasive rejuvenation techniques to shape and contour the face. He publishes regularly in major skin cancer-related journals and publications, lectures nationally and internationally as well, and has performed over 15,000 Mohs surgery cases. Dr. Sherrif is always at the forefront of Sciton's innovation and technology, and today we are honored to have him present on the latest innovation, BBL HEROic, and he will share on how BBL HEROic achieves better quality results, improved safety for the patients, and also high speed for rejuvenation treatments as well. So it's a total game changer. We can say that the smart BBL has just gotten smarter as well. And so without further delay, I will pass over the time to Dr. Sherrif, who will begin his presentation. Over to you, Dr. Sherrif.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Good evening, everybody. It's morning for me in New York, 8 a.m., but I believe 8 p.m. for you there. So I'll share my slides here and we'll get started. It's really my pleasure to talk to you about some of the latest developments from Sciton that we've had a very important role in the development of, doing lots of research to bring you the latest technology. You know, Sciton is the only laser company that I work with for one reason. The mission statement of this company, I'm not sure if anybody out there knows, the mission statement of Sciton is improving people's lives. And, you know, that could mean the patients that are treated, the customers that purchase the devices, but also the people that work for the company. And really, they put people first, no matter what they're working on. And that to me is very important. If you ever go to California, I urge you to visit the Sciton headquarters. It's in Palo Alto. You know, I think the only laser company that takes such control over every bit of quality measure that is possible. Everything is designed in Palo Alto. The engineers are there. The founders of the company are two physicists that are very much involved in the development of the new devices. Everything is assembled, manufactured, shipped, everything. Service comes from Palo Alto, California, and it's really an incredible place if you ever have a chance to go. Most of my talk today, I think, will be talking about BBL. And BBL, if you don't know, stands for broadband light. It is Sciton's version of an IPL, or intense pulse light, but we call it BBL because it's really in a class of its own. It was first, the company overall was started in 1997, and BBL was introduced in 2004, and originally was a small standalone unit at the desktop kind of unit, and then was incorporated into the Joule platform. And then in 2020, it was released on the millijoule, or the small portable unit, and with a development that was called BBL Hero, which stands for High Energy Rapid Output. But as of April of this year, Sciton released the newest version of the BBL, which is called BBL HEROic. And that stands for, again, the high energy rapid output, but the IC now stands for intelligent control. When we're using IPL of any type, I think it's a very difficult treatment to learn, but you can see these are the types of things we wish to avoid: over treating somebody, burning them, striping them, causing, a little bit too much pigment removal. That you could see that in the bottom corner here. This is striping. These on the top here are just burns. And these are very common things. These are patients of mine that were sent to me from with these complications that we had to correct, not patients that we treated. So IPL in general is a very difficult treatment to learn, I think, particularly in Asian skin types. So when we look at the traditional BBL, the first version, and really any IPL that's out there on the market that is non-BBL, we look at a firing rate of about 1 Hertz, so 1 pulse per second. We stamp, so in other words, we place the device there, we stamp, and we try to line things up very well. If you double stamp, you can see on this paper, it shows you where the light was flashed. You can see it creates a burn, and you can see that if you overlap pulses, like you see right here in the middle, you get too much treatment. And if you don't line them up, you get areas that are undertreated. So even irregardless of settings, just the placement of the pulses is very slow and very tedious. And if you want to treat a face with 500 pulses, you can do the math. That's going to take you probably 1,000 seconds or maybe close to 20 minutes of treatment. In 2020, Sciton released BBL Hero, and it was a way to really circumvent some of these problems that we were seeing with IPLs. And we spent, from 2020 to 2022 talking about how BBL Hero was different from traditional BBL. And I put it here in these comparisons. So you can see BBL, typically we treat higher fluences and higher pulse widths. So sometimes maybe 9 to 20 joules per centimeter squared. We treat 15 to 20 milliseconds on the pulse width. And again, we could at a maximum frequency of 1 pulse per second. Hero changed everything. By dropping the pulse width to 3 to 5 milliseconds, we also were using very low fluences of about 5 to 7 joules. And so by doing that, we could also fire at 4 pulses per second. And it changed the way we delivered it from a stamping movement, 1 pulse, 1 pulse, 1 pulse like this, to a sweeping or in motion type of treatment, or what we call in motion BBL. So I think of it as like now, instead of just putting a spot of pulse here, 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 we're now painting BBL on the surface of the skin. And we were starting to see results like this. And this is from our friend, Dr. Campo. He's a dermatologist in Spain and a member of the Sciton family, where you can see not just improvement in the color, but look at the texture of the skin of the décolleté. And I'm not sure of another treatment that exists that you can do this for somebody in a single treatment that's very comfortable with no numbing and essentially no downtime. Because we could fire at 4 pulses a second, we could do treatments in less than 2 minutes with a result like this. Okay, so this is a typical BBL Hero. So this was, again, 2020, where you can see this is me. I'm treating a chest, and so you can just see how fast you can treat. The problem is it fires at 4 pulses per second, regardless of how fast you move the handpiece or not. So you see, we have to move very, very quickly. Otherwise, we have a risk of double stacking pulses, putting 2 pulses in the same spot. So how do you see that I compensated for that? Is I move the handpiece very quickly, knowing that I'm leaving gaps in treatment, but then I compensate for the gaps by doing what we call cross hatching, treating left to right, then treating up and down. And you can see if I play this video again, I put in hundreds of pulses in her chest. Of course, the video is sped up here, but you can see hundreds of pulses on the chest in about 90 seconds. And it's a beautiful result. But again, it takes time to learn, and it is challenging, very challenging for new users. So BBL introduced in 2004. You can see all of the other competitors that are there, roughly 1 or maybe 2 pulses per second. Now BBL with better cooling, higher power, better software, higher output energy. We could fire at 4 hertz. And we see this translate into more successful revenue. These are in US dollars. We can see that systems with BBL Hero on average had almost 50% more monthly revenue for the treatments that they did. And this is because now the treatments are much quicker and much more effective and much safer when you're treating areas like the chest, the arms, the hands, the back, really essentially head to toe, and people were getting better results. So we see about a 30% more revenue. So now we can see here, this is the BBL Hero, and even though this person is moving the hand at a constant rate, we still see that nobody is perfect. There are gaps here, and you can see in some areas there are overlapped or stacked pulses. And so this, again, this paper is very handy because it shows you where it's fired. You have to move the handpiece at a constant speed of 48 millimeters per second if you want to have a small overlap. And if you move 60 millimeters per second, you're going to leave gaps. And if you move 30 millimeters per second, it's too much overlap and you'll burn the patient. So you can see none of us, there's no human in the world that has this kind of precision and accuracy when using the Hero. Personally, when I use Hero, I go too fast to intentionally leave gaps, but then go over it with multiple passes. The problem is the skin is not like the paper where you can see exactly where the spots were. This is immediately post-treatment of someone's arm treated with Hero, and then you see 1 day later, there are definitely missed areas on the treatment. And so even the best of us cannot see the areas that are missed until the patient is recovering. Also, if you're moving and you stop moving just for a split second, you'll put 4 pulses in one spot and potentially burn the patient like you see here. Okay. This is one of my BBL Hero patients, and I think I'm a very good BBL Hero user, but you can see this is not striping, is that the patient had a lot of solar lentigines, and I just missed some areas. Down here on the lower portion or the distal portion of her upper arm, you can see I was pretty good, but as we were going around the curves of the shoulder and so forth, there are definitely missed areas. It's very easy to correct, but you have to do an additional treatment for the patient. Let's talk about HEROic. Let's talk about why this is such an incredible machine. Again, this was just released 2 months ago. We talked about the problem with Hero, that if you move too slow, what we see over here on the left at 4 hertz, the pulses will overlap. If you move perfectly, which it's very hard for any of us to do, that's great. But most of us are either moving too fast or too slow, and you're having a suboptimal placement of the pulses. Now, what if the firing rate changed as a function of the movement of the handpiece? So in other words, if you slow your hand down, the machine fires slower. And if you speed your hand up, the machine fires faster. That would require the machine, the handpiece, or the platform to be able to detect the speed of the handpiece. So the engineers at Sciton said, let's try this. Let's see if we can modulate the speed of firing as a function of the speed of the handpiece. They tried a track wheel, but that didn't work because it's very messy with the gel that we need for BBL. GPS, like we use in our cars, is not precise enough. We really needed sub-millimeter accuracy. Camera doesn't work because you're moving around curvatures. Camera requires a line of sight. Accelerometer, like the one I have in my Garmin watch, doesn't work very well either. The problem was solved with the use of magnets. Think about when you're a child and you're playing with magnets. If you're putting opposite poles, they attract. And if you're putting like poles together, they you can feel the force between them two. So using a system of magnets, judging the distance between the handpiece and a new sensor on the machine, the problem was solved. And the engineers at Sciton were able to develop a device that could detect position of the handpiece with sub-millimeter accuracy, 1/10 of a millimeter to be precise. And as the magnet in the handpiece moves farther away from the magnet on the device, we can see that the force between the magnets is weaker. As it brings it closer, it is stronger, and this is detectable. So there's a new piece of the device that's called the boom, and we see the boom here, and at the end of the boom, there's this little white box that's called the source. Now watch this. This is just waving the device in the air, okay? And you can see here, we put the boom out, we calibrate it, one beep showing the position of the handpiece. And now you can see as you move, it will fire. As you stop, it will stop. You can see as it gets to the end, and that's how it works. It's absolutely incredible. So the faster you move your hand, the faster it will fire. If you stop moving your hand, even with your foot on the pedal, it stops firing. And it's absolutely incredible. So there's the same sheet that I showed you before. Now watch this with the HEROic versus the Hero. Okay, you can see here, no matter how fast, no matter how slow you move, there you can see we stop moving and the machine stops firing. We move faster, it moves faster. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. This is a patient. Now you can see this is me on her right arm. I'm using the standard, or what we call the traditional BBL. And you can see here 1 pulse per second. This was really until 2020 state of the art. This is state of the art for every other competitor out there. I mean, I feel extremely very strong about this. You should never even consider buying another IPL device, especially in the market you're in, where most of the patients are type 4 or higher skin. This is risky. This is boring, and it doesn't work very well, and it's very painful for the patient. You can see here, we could spend 2 hours and one arm would be done. So I will save you the agony of watching this. Now, if we go to the other side, same patient, okay, this is HEROic in action, where you can see here, look at that, just painting the BBL on the skin. It doesn't matter the position of the arm because it's just the distance between the handpiece and the machine. That is the only thing that matters. Look at that. Absolutely incredible. Doesn't matter if you go up, down, left, right, around curves. Everything works perfectly with the sub-millimeter accuracy of the pulsing. All right. Here's a chest. You can see there the source. Unlike the first patient that I showed you with Hero, this is HEROic. You can see the handpiece is different. It treats around the neck. And, you know, I always get emails from users that they burn people here at the base of the neck at the clavicle. Because when you think about it, if you watch as the handpiece goes around the curve, the back of the handpiece is moving, but the crystal stays in the exact same spot. That doesn't matter. The HEROic recognizes that. And you can see here how beautiful the redness is coming up, the darkening of the solar lentigines is occurring, and how safe it is around the curves of the neck and the base of the neck around the clavicle and any other contoured area of the body. The amount of extensive mathematics and calculus that the engineers put into this is incredible and of beyond my comprehension, but it is wonderful. It is a joy to use. We have 3 BBLs in our office. One of them is HEROic, and now I stopped using the other machines because it's just fantastic. Another parameter that we can modulate on the HEROic is the percent overlap between pulses. and we can set it at a minimum of 10 and a maximum of 50. This is a chest of a woman, and on her left side, so the right side of the screen, I am treating her at 10% overlap. So I'm going to play the video here. The purple, this is a thermal camera. The purple is cold. That's the gel that we're putting on. And now watch the position, placement of the pulses on her left side here, 10% overlap. Okay. Absolutely perfectly placed. And you can see the temperature is rising because it's turning bright yellow, and a perfect 10% overlap. We do about 4 pulses here, maybe, 4 passes, maybe about 200 pulses. Now look at what happens with the 50% overlap. So for the patients who have maybe a little bit lighter skin or less target chromophore that you wish to treat, look at that. You can see how beautiful, absolutely perfectly placed. So now it is very easy for someone to learn how to do these incredible kinds of treatment. And look at the temperature rise on the right. So this was the patient that I showed you. I treated her once with Hero. Now look at what happens with Heroic. Not only is the solar lentiginase improved, you can do corrective treatments, but where it really shines is the rejuvenation of the skin, the quality of the skin. The people are saying, my skin feels so soft, it feels amazing. My skin feels like I'm a teenager again. It's the rejuvenation of the skin is unmatched by any other treatment that exists on the planet. And I feel very strongly by making such a definitive statement like that. Now I'm going to tell you something else. We talked about BBL Hero, 4 pulses per second, but because Heroic now is so safe, the engineers have given us a great gift. Are you ready? 10 hertz. Depending on the settings that we use, the machine can fire up to 10 or 11 pulses per second. As we go up in energy, that will go down, but you don't set this because it's set by the movement of your hand. If you're not comfortable treating at this speed, you just move slower. And as you get more comfortable, you move faster and the machine will keep up. You don't have to worry about placement of the pulses any longer. The machine takes care of all of that for you. This is one of my patients. I treated her right forearm, which is at the bottom, with Heroic, and the top one with a stamping standard BBL. So you can see here, I did pretty good. I missed a couple of areas of pigmentation that you can see on the upper picture here that I'm circling. But more than anything, look at the improvement in the quality of the skin. What we call the crepiness of the skin is completely gone. And this is very important for areas like the décolleté, the chest, the backs of the hands, the forearms, where people just don't like that crepey skin anymore. And for those of you that are BBL users that are listening here, we know we love the 515, the 560, the 590, the 640. All of those are what we call long pass filters. That means it allows that wavelength and beyond. So it cuts off everything below. With the release of BBL Heroic, Sciton has also given us a new filter that is called the 532 plus filter. Now it is not just a long pass filter, but it is what we call a narrow band filter. And it allows wavelengths from 500 to roughly 650, and that's it. So it cuts off everything below 500 and cuts off everything beyond about 600, 650. So it is taking the incredible power of BBL, which is normally 400 to 1400 nanometers, and compressing it into this one band between about 500 and 600. And you can see that here at the bottom. So on the blue emission here is 515. So you can see it cuts off everything below 515 and allows everything longer than 515 through. The black spectrum here is the 532 plus filter. So now all of a sudden it's cutting out all of the unnecessary wavelengths and giving us targeted precision. The flip side to this is because it's so efficient, we can now treat people, listen to this, at 2 joules and 2.5 joules. And we're getting better results than we were treating at 5 or 6 joules using the 515 filter and HERoic. This is so important for the treatment of Asian skin because now it is so much safer when you're using this new filter with the HERoic system at 2 joules. The patient says it feels like a warm stone. It's not hard. It's not harsh. The problem with prior versions of BBL, you sometimes will get striping with 515, it's particularly on Asian skin. So you end up needing to use the 560 or the 590 filter, which is not very good for improvement of browns, for melanin, for solar lentigines. Now all of a sudden you have the most potent filter because you're getting even lower, that 500 to 515 range that you miss with 515, but you bring the energy down. So now we are routinely using this filter, I have to say, almost exclusively at 2 joules, 2.5 joules. They also gave us in the software half-joule increments. And so to go from 2 to 2.5 doesn't sound like a lot, but it's, really 25% increase in energy. So all of our patients now, we're using the HERoic, very high pulse frequency, 6 to 10 pulses per second, using this new filter at extremely low fluences, and you can modulate the overlap. I know it's a lot of information, but this machine has completely blown every other device on the planet out of the water. It's really just a joy to use. This is one treatment. This was before we had the 532 filter, so I used the 515 filter. You can look at every different way, by any metric that you measure here, you can see improvement. I treated her with 600 pulses, and it took me 3 minutes. One treatment, no downtime. Okay. Another, look at how much smoother and brighter the luminosity of her skin. It's just absolutely incredible. Nobody would ever believe that we can do these treatments with really no downtime, no numbing needed. It's very comfortable. There's no swelling. Of course, you see the darkening of the solar lentigines for a few days, but people can wear makeup, no problem. I want to show you this video. This person here is Mary. Mary is 20 years old. She's a medical assistant in my office. She is not a provider. She has never, ever, turned the laser on. She's watched me do hundreds of treatments. But the system now is so simple and easy to use that if somebody is now familiar with the settings, and I told her the settings, okay, here she is putting on one of the adapters. I told her what settings to use. She calibrates the machine, and this is her first BBL, and it's perfect. So now it's so easy to learn, and for all of us around the world to get consistent treatments. Okay. This is a 20-year-old person who has zero medical experience, and she can learn how to use the machine in a safe and quicker way. The machine works better. It hurts less. It's safer. The results are better, and it's easier for all of us to learn. And it's really for those reasons. Here I am doing it myself. I had a couple big brown spots. It's so easy. You can do it to yourself. Okay. Here, this is a funny video that I did using the circle adapter. It even works with the 11mm circle. You can see here that no matter how fast you move, no matter how slow you move, the pulses are placed absolutely perfectly HERoic. So we went from BBL to BBL Hero, and now we have BBL HERoic. And it has absolutely, especially in the United States where it's been released and now other countries around the world, I can't wait to hear who's going to be the first person in Singapore to get it, because you will be more successful. Because once you're done with the face, your patients will say, can you do my neck? Can you do my chest? Can you do my hands? And you do it in the same duration of appointment time. So you can set an appointment time for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and you can do almost their whole body in that short period of time. And of course, you'll charge them more for that. So easier to learn, easier to use, safer, more comfortable. It works better and it's faster. So almost too good to be true. So the last few minutes here, that was all heroic. I'm sure you'll have some questions. Just a quick overview of some of the other brands that Sciton has. The Halo, the Moxi, which are fractionated resurfacing lasers, the Erbium deep resurfacing laser, and the ClearV, which is the Nd:YAG 1064 for vascular applications. And so we can see here different wavelengths do different things. The 2940 Erbium is really, the whole company was started on this laser for a clean ablative resurfacing. The Halo combines ablative with non-ablative, and the Moxi, which is a thulium device there right in the middle at 1927. And of course, we love to combine it with things like BBL HEROic. The Halo is a powerhouse for correction. Because it combines ablative and non-ablative wavelengths, we can do these kinds of treatments. You still need to do BBL, of course, because you need to improve the browns and the reds. You can see here, I treated her eyelids, her forehead, her cheeks. Look at the lentigines on her cheek here are completely gone in 2 sessions. Halo is now 10 years old. So in the aesthetics business, something that's 10 years old is like a dinosaur, right? And so it's more popular than ever because it works better than any other resurfacing device on the market. And so after a while, everyone starts recognizing that the results is what matters more than any amount of marketing or, things along those natures. So here we can see where Halo shines, where you need lots of correction. Unfortunately, Halo is not going to treat these kinds of lines. And so when patients come in like this and they say, I want these deep, deep etched in rhytids around the mouth improved, you can combine all of the different modalities because, of course, with Sciton, it's all in one box, or what we call one platform. So you can do, I did BBL above the top 2/3 of her face and Halo, and then I did an ablative erbium around her mouth in a single treatment session. You can get results like this in a patient who's in her 80s, right? But she's very active and she wants to see the person that she feels like she is on the inside. Another patient combining BBL, combining Halo with perioral deep resurfacing. It's one of my favorite treatments to do. You can see what else is going to help with the jowls around the mouth like this. And even surgery is not an answer because it doesn't affect the quality of the skin. You can see here very nice results using that same technique. One of my favorites is the Moxi. Again, this is a 1927 at lower fluences. It is more like a non-ablative, just a polishing of the skin. And at 20 millijoules at the higher end and 20% density, it has almost ablative-like properties. This is the best device for all skin types, Fitzpatrick's 1 through 6, any time of year, because the heat level is so low. So this is really my go-to device for melasma because it's very good in targeting epidermal melasma as well as in ethnic skin. So even African American skin, it works perfectly well. We can see here that in 2021, when it was first released, it had 17% of the non-ablative fractional laser market in the United States. By 2 years later, it is now 50%. So it's the fastest growing, as far as I know, of all of the Sciton modalities. So here's a patient, darker skin with melasma. We can see here, look at how beautiful that combining the heroic with Moxi has done for this patient. Another patient, solar lentiginous. We can see here combining the BBL with the Moxi. BBL is great for the lentiginous. The Moxi is great for the polishing. Hopefully you can see the resolution of this kind of these lines, fine lines, pore size, smoothness, luminosity of the skin, all of those things. And you can see here a healing diary of a darker skin patient, how much the skin shines and glows. And you can see here at baseline how she's healing and how wonderful her skin looks. Here we can see a patient, lots of pigmentation there on the cheeks after pregnancy. And you can see here about a 1 week after a single Moxi treatment. Just absolutely polishes the skin. It looks like she's wearing makeup. Here's the healing diary. You can see here how much darker it gets for a day or two. So you really have to warn the patients about that. Then the pigmentation peels, and you can see how wonderful the skin looks. This is something that I see very commonly, right? These are not solar lentiginous. These are small seborrheic keratoses. We call it sometimes DPN in dermatology, dermatosis papulosa nigra. And you can see these small SKs. Patients don't like these. So the BBL is going to be nice to get rid of the pigmentation. You could do a heroic treatment and then even spot treat some of the browns using the new 532 filter, but people don't like the texture of these small seborrheic keratoses. And that's where with the Moxi, you can really focus on these. And with one treatment, she went from here to here. And so with additional treatments, of course, you can get things looking much better. But look around the eyes, look at the nasal bridge, really beautiful improvement in the texture and the glow. She's extremely happy, also in her late 70s. So there's no patient that's too old for these kinds of treatments. This is a patient who had 2 Moxis at 15 millijoules, 15% density. So very easy treatment. We do about 10 or 15 minutes of a topical anesthetic and use the Zimmer chiller, so a cold air blown on the skin. We see darker skin patients that have hyperpigmentation from plucking or waxing or threading around the mouth. I do very, very, very gentle BBL for this patient, and then a Moxi over where you can see here absolutely incredible shine and glow to the surface of the skin. It's not just for younger patients. We can see improvement in the solar lentiginous with the BBL, polishing with the Moxi. So BBL HEROic and Moxi now come on the same platform. And personally, I think if you're newer and you are not doing a lot of surgery, that this is the way to go. You get a millijoule, the smaller platform with the new HEROic and the Moxi. It plugs into any outlet in the office, so it's very small and portable. You can wheel it from room to room to room. You will be so successful in your practice. The bigger platform, of course, is what we call the Jewel X, and that's when you get into more of the deeper erbium resurfacing and the halo. So definitely, if you're thinking about which machine to get first, my advice is always now the combination of HEROic and Moxi. Really, everybody that walks into your office is a good candidate for these kinds of treatments. So you can see here, it's hard to argue with a result that looks like this. In the last couple of minutes, I'll talk about Clear V, which is a vascular laser for deeper vessels. So we can treat things like venous lake like this in a single session. All right, you can see periorbital veins. So this is a patient whose skin was perfect. Really, we had done halo a couple times. There was nothing more I could do for her skin other than routine BBL maintenance, but she hated this vessel. And this is her as soon as I'm done. Not a week later, not 2 weeks later. You can perfectly, with precision, track out these vessels along the eye. Another big venous lake, a young girl, 12 years old, with a spider angioma. Not just one treatment, but one pulse with the Clear V erases it like we were never there. And so much more versatile than a pulse dye laser, because of course the pulse dye laser is not going to treat things like a venous lake or leg veins or other things like periorbital veins. It just can't go deep enough. So really, the BBL with its vascular capabilities can do anything a pulse dye laser can do, and then the Clear V can do everything beyond that. So I just want to show you this. A lot of people say lasers cannot treat leg veins. I think they are wrong because you can see here the clear V, it has a vein illuminator right in the handpiece. So you can see how bright it makes the vessels, and you can see all of the feeder vessels. And as you march along 3 pulses per second, you can see here I've treated this entire plexus of vessels on a lower leg of a woman. And it's very comfortable, very fun to watch, right? Very rewarding when we see that. Okay. So lastly, I'll leave you with this. This is a patient you can tell has had a hard life, and why we're all in the business of making people feel better and improving people's lives, like I started. Because now for her, look at what we can do, right? And this is the pinnacle when you get so comfortable with your devices and really want to make a change in people's lives when we can do ablative resurfacing for the entire face. I want to leave a few minutes for questions and answers, so I hope you learned a little bit. So I hope you agree with me that we are really improving people's lives with the technology that we have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sherrif, for the wonderful presentation. Very eye-opening, indeed, on the new innovation from Sciton. And it's interesting that you get to try the whole gamut of evolution from the BBL Classic to the Hero to the Heroic right now over here. Okay, so we are welcome right now for questions to come in. You have the question box in your Zoom panel, and we really welcome questions to come in right now for our expert tonight. The first question is that will BBL, in your experience, will BBL be effective for melasma in Asians, just the BBL?
That's an excellent question. And for many years, we would always say that BBL is contraindicated in melasma patients because it can flare melasma and make it worse, especially in Asian skin. But with the heroic, it's so different because now we can tune it down to 2 joules and even a wider pulse width, say 5 or 6 milliseconds. And it's so precise and so low heat that we are now seeing improvements in melasma in a variety of patients. It's definitely something that we're working on. It's something we would not have done previously, but the heroic, again, it's not just faster. It's really a different machine from the ground up in how it works, hardware, software, filters, and it's absolutely incredible. So I would say stay tuned, but the short answer is we're working on it, and I think we're going to get there.
Okay. Next question will be melasma again. We did see some pictures, results on melasma, but currently, what is your experience with melasma clearance, especially with Asian skin types, with the Moxi,
Moxi is the best treatment device for melasma, really in all skin types. It's safe. It is very low energy. We can use it in types 1 through 6 skin any time of year. The thing with melasma, it always comes back until it goes away. And some people, it might be a year, and some people, it might be 10 years, but there's a time where it just gets better. But we have many things that can make it better. Halo can make melasma better. But when it comes back, people are upset because it's 5 days of edema. It's a very high price. But with Moxi, the treatment is very low downtime, 1 or 2 days, over the weekend. It's very quick. They didn't take time off from work. They didn't spend a ton of money on it. So think about when you give someone a neurotoxin, Botox, Dysport, whatever. You give it to them, you inject their forehead, and you say, let's schedule your next appointment, right? Always on the way out, you schedule the next one. Now we're doing that with Moxi. So instead of saying, "Oh man, I'm so sad your melasma came back," you say, "Your melasma will come back. Let me see you back in 3 months," and the patient is happy because if you treat them periodically, the melasma stays away. You increase the revenue in your business, your patients are happy, and the results are safe. So there's no cure for melasma. We can erase some of the pigmentation. Moxi is the best treatment for that and the best experience for the patient.
Okay. Um, okay, one of another question will be back on the heroic. Will the heroic be adapted for hair removal as well?
You can use any, that's a great question. Yes. So for those of us that do use hair removal with BBL, the position placement works for any function of BBL.
Oh,
So it doesn't just have to be the 10 pulses per second. Even if you're used to, say, rosacea settings, hair removal settings, acne settings, skin tight settings, you're always going to calibrate the handpiece with the machine and it will place the pulses for you perfectly. So
oh,
it works in every modality of BBL, not just the rapid fire.
okay, okay. So beyond just rejuvenation, you could use it for hair removal
Yes.
technique.
Yeah, it's for
Oh,
everything on the machine.
wow, wow. Okay, fantastic. Um, back to Moxi and melasma. What are the usual parameters that you use for the melasma with the Moxi? And do you have occurrence of PIH after Moxi? That's a quite common question.
Number two, no, I don't see PIH after Moxi. Of course, people have to use sun protection and be smart, but I knock on wood, never have seen PIH after Moxi.
Mhm.
My favorite setting for melasma, 7.5 millijoules, 15% density. So I use a little bit less on the fluence, but a little higher on the density. So a
Oh,
lot of people feel you have to be the same,
yeah,
5, 5, 10, 10, 15, 15, but I like to change it. 7.5 millijoules, 15% density. That's like my favorite for melasma because there's very little edema. The patient can put makeup on and go to work the next day.
all right.
So
Interesting. I mean, in Singapore, we use 10-10 over here, but very interesting angle right now. Okay. Would you be able to treat Horace nevi with the BBL or the Moxi? Another question.
uh the dermatologists don't like to you can get pigment out if it's superficial. Deeper nevi, a Becker's nevus, things like that. There's no way you're going to do that. Or nevus of Oda, but even just dermal nevi in general, most dermatologists will say you should never laser them because, what if it transforms into melanoma and you now have an amelanotic melanoma, you cannot monitor it. So if you have any suspicion, first send them to the dermatologist for biopsy. Don't, you have to have good clinical diagnosis to see if there's some concerning features for malignancy before you laser, of course, with any type of nevus.
Hey. Okay, next question is, yeah, how would you combine, what would be your sequence or protocol for combining Moxi and BBL, like for a treatment regime? Like, will it be like 2 Moxis and 5 BBLs, or how do you space them apart?
Oh, we know we do them at the same setting. So the patient will come in, we'll numb them first, clean the skin, put the gel on, do the BBL heroic, wipe the gel off, and do the Moxi right there.
Okay, and
Same setting. Yeah.
same setting. Do you
Yeah.
do like 5 Moxis with 5 BBLs 1 month apart? I mean, I think the question is more of like the whole package regime, how do you?
Yeah, I like to see patients regularly as
Mhm.
opposed to saying, let's do three and then maybe I never see them again. I like to do it and then see them maybe 4 times a year indefinitely rather than doing them in series. That's just the way I do it. Of course, every patient is different. So if they have a lot more of what I call corrective needs, then they'll definitely need a series in succession. But if they're doing maintenance, then they don't necessarily need that many. So often we do the series of maybe 3 at the beginning, and then periodically, indefinitely over time, so that they can maintain those results.
Okay, all right. Okay, I've got a question regarding the new 532 filter, the 532 plus filter that you introduced with low fluence. Have you tried them on Asian skin types, and how is your experience with them?
I don't use any other filter on Asian skin now, because again, it's now we can treat pigmentation in Asian skin without worrying. Even with 515, you could have some problems, especially on the body with striping. My wife is Asian. She's from Laos. And I treated her with the 515, very low energy, and she still had striping for a long time, and I heard about it every day. Yeah. But with the 532 filter, because we can drop it to 2 joules,
Okay.
think of what we're saying, 2 joules. I mean, it's so effective because it's so efficient, and you eliminate the risk. So in the patients that have a little more higher Fitzpatrick type, then 2 joules, and then we widen the pulse width a little bit. So instead of 3 milliseconds, maybe 5 milliseconds. You should try it. Is there a heroic device in Singapore yet?
No, this is our launch webinar actually. Our preview. Yeah.
Somebody has to get it, and then you'll try it, because you just go, it feels like nice. It's not even hot. People enjoy it. Even my own patients that I've had for a while that I treated with heroic, then they come back and they see the other hero. They say, no, 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 no. I want the one with the arm, because they know it's more comfortable and it works better.
Okay. 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 I think okay. Yeah, back to the heroic and the BBL hero. I wonder, I'm not sure if you covered it earlier on, but what would be the amount of time savings using the heroic for a full face now versus just the BBL hero? Have you ever like roughly have a gauge of the time savings?
Yeah, for me, I don't like to race. For me, it's not about shaving 1 minute doing the face. That's not where the power is. Definitely when you get off the face, it's incredible, right? Because now you can go 10 pulses per second. But this is where the difference is, because you do the face so quickly in the same session. People say, can you do my neck? Can you do my chest? Can you do my arms? So previously we would say, of course, but you have to come back for another appointment or a double appointment. Where it now is so incredible is now everybody gets it like their whole body with the heroic in the same amount of time. And
Oh,
you charge 5 times the price. So in the same treatment appointment length, we treat many more body parts.
okay. Okay.
And even with hero, some patients still had to numb. They couldn't handle it. It would hurt too much. So then they would sit for 20 minutes with the lidocaine. Now nobody will numb with heroic. Nobody.
Oh, okay. Okay. What the one question I think from one of our users, when will you use the ST filter, the skin type filter? How do you position it usually?
Yeah, it's a good question. And the lines are blurring a little bit, right? When you're doing a heroic at 10 pulses per second, and skin tight. But skin tight, again, you're going to be using some of those longer wavelengths, 800, things like that.
35, yeah.
But even skin tight works with the position sensing. So you still use the arm in skin tight. It's incredible. You have to get your hands on one. I mean, it's, yeah, nobody will ever use a non-heroic device. The sales in the US are incredible, because once someone sees it, they're like, oh, I have to have that.
Okay.
Yeah. And the machines are upgradable too. So if somebody has a hero, they can upgrade it to hero.
Okay, fantastic. Yes. Back to the Moxi question. An interesting question. Have you ever incorporate exosomes with your Moxi treatments?
Personally, I don't use them in my practice, and but if you're, I just don't really know a lot about them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for a little more data and things like that. But by all means, yes,
Or
people are
skin,
doing that. Yeah.
skin boosters.
If you use exosomes, yes, you should combine it with your Moxi treatments.
Okay. Over here. Okay. Great questions, by the way. So keep them coming.
Mm.
And yeah, there is a question on I think it's a user lentigenes. Have you ever treated like lentigenes on like Middle Eastern darker skin types? How would you go about it typically? I think this is referring to the yeah.
That's me, right? You
Yeah.
saw me doing it. I'm Middle Eastern, I'm Egyptian, and I
Oh,
had lots of solar lentigenes all in here, and they're gone. And I used the 532 plus filter with the heroic, and I did it to myself because I can just close my eyes and move it across, and I didn't have to worry about,
okay,
yeah. So 532 all the way. It's
okay,
safe.
okay. Okay. We have just, I think one question on the heroic. I think we may missed the initial part of your presentation. Um, is it delegatable now to junior therapists with the heroic technology?
Of course. Yeah. You saw the video. Mary is 20 years old, never touched a laser in her life. And
Okay.
in her first try, it was perfect.
Okay. Okay.
Makes me mad because it took me 2 years to learn BBL, and now somebody can learn it in 2 weeks.
Okay. 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 I think we just wait a while more for any further questions from the audience over here. Okay, perhaps I think yeah, okay, one question. Is that okay? Obviously there is like a difference in the quality between a BBL and the regular IPL. Okay.
Mhm.
But in your opinion, what are the most significant benefits that the BBL can offer to the patient versus your regular standard IPL? I mean, what in your opinion would be the key significant benefits?
Oh my
Efficacy,
gosh. I
yeah.
don't even know where to start. I mean, it's like a bicycle and a Ferrari. I mean, you cannot even compare the two. I mean, you have such versatility with BBL and power and results. You can do reds and browns and hair, rejuvenation. I mean, there's no other IPL that does rejuvenation, period. And the incredible degree of rejuvenation you get with BBL is unmatched by any device, IPL, laser, anything that exists. You have filters, you have adapters, you can go quickly, you can treat from head to toe. And then you have the full support of Sciton. I mean, don't underestimate the impact of the company, the service and the support, the network, the community. It's you can nobody should ever even consider another IPL device. It's a waste of money.
Thank you. Okay, maybe we have just time for any final questions from the audience. But before we end, Dr. Ibrahim, would there be any final pointers that you'd like to share with the audience tonight?
Yeah, the heroic is just absolutely revolutionized everything we do. It's completely changed it. As much as Hero changed it from regular BBL, heroic now has changed it more. And it just keeps getting better. And it's really a testament to the people and the company at Sciton and how much they want us to succeed. But
Okay.
good idea. We're wrapping up because now I have a lot of patients to see. I
Okay.
would rather do
Okay.
this all day.
Okay. Okay. I don't see any further questions now. Oh, okay. The one more question is that you've started using the heroic for maybe a little while now. any issues with the reliability of the HEROic? I mean, the pairing, the signal, and everything?
No, we've been using it for 4 years to try to get it perfect.
Wow.
So Sciton doesn't release anything that's not perfect.
Fantastic. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ibrahim. Thank you so much for your time. And we really appreciate the time of all our attendees as well. And I believe we've covered up all the questions. Just before we end the night, I'd like to ask your kind help from the audience to kindly fill up a short survey to help us improve or any new suggestions for the next round. But thank you kindly for joining us tonight. And we will look forward to seeing you soon as well. If you have any questions, do drop contact Servicom, drop us an email. If you have any further questions for Dr. Sherrif, we would translate the questions to him. If not, thank you very much for Dr. Sherrif for your valuable time and insights, and especially what a fantastic presentation on this new technology. Thank you. We're looking forward to having you in Singapore one day.
My pleasure. Let me know. I'll come.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Have a great day.